All right, good morning or afternoon. It's definitely afternoon. All right, good afternoon. Think the audio is good. Yeah, we're good. So we can get started now. Today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading this book on my Kindle that I've already been reading. I'm like close to the end. This might even be the last chapter. I'm not even sure. No, okay. There's Charles V. So this is a fun book. It's called The Verge, Reformation, Renaissance, and 40 Years That Shook the World from 1480 to 1520. Here, I'll show you the cover. Oh no, 1490 to 1530. Oh, that's very fast. Is there no easy way to look at the... Oh, here. Yeah, so from 1490 to 1530 by Patrick Wyman. Reformation, Renaissance, and 40 Years That Shook the World. It's such a crazy 40 years, and so much happens, and I'm so glad that somebody wrote a book just like chronologically situated to make us feel like we can at least imagine a world, right? This is the kind of history that's like really exciting. I mean, I don't love everything about the book, but and I don't love every chapter about the book, but there's a lot that is very fun. Just if you ever do decide to pick up the book, there's a lot of focus on mercantilism and how the merchant class kind of came to be, and how money started flowing in ways that had never flowed before. So there's a lot of economic focus. So be aware that when you're reading this, you might find yourself a little like out of sorts if you don't know some basic economic principles. Then again, you could just read it and just sort of ignore all the economic stuff and just kind of skip through it if that's not if that's not really your jam. So I would never discourage somebody from reading something just because they don't know some area of thing, because even when I'm reading this, I'm sure there's something that I don't know that I'm missing. So I think it's sort of nonsense to worry about that kind of thing. But yeah, just be aware. There's a lot of economic focus on this. That said, there's also a lot of just painting the picture of what it's like at that time, and sometimes it's really, really, really like interesting for me. So I'll tell you some of my favorite chapters from this. Christopher Columbus, Isabella, Martin Luther, and Gotts von Berlichingen. I've never had to actually pronounce that until just now. Those are really fun for me. I guess I'm just natural. It's weird because I like economics, but I just find that the more economics oriented chapters like less interesting, even though I like it. It's kind of strange. Anyway, let's go into... Oh, and you know what else? It's the random comment that just occurred to me. If you're an adult and you've watched Game of Thrones, like this feels very Games of Thronesy. Like if you've watched it, it has such vibes, and like kind of comparing the vibes from Games of Thrones, the Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones. And just like the vibe that comes out in like the 1490s to 1530, just getting that vibe, it's such a trip. It's such an interesting experience just to be comparing that. So I would actually, it could be a good pairing, honestly, watching Game of Thrones and then also, especially like the early seasons of Game of Thrones, where the politics and all that stuff and even the economics kind of comes out, and then reading this. Doing that back to back, I think, is actually could be a very interesting experience. I just realized my door's open, so I'm going to go quickly close that, and then I'll be right back. And I'm going to get started reading. I also said this in my Discord channel, but today I wasn't actually going to stream. I was just going to do some work that I've been sort of pushing off, but I just can't focus right now. So I'm basically just doing this for just to get my blood pumping. Reading books to get my blood pumping. And I do enjoy this book quite a bit. I like this chapter especially, among other things. So So hopefully hopefully we can find some fun reactions, fun things to react to at least while I'm reading. Let's go. Apogee. Oh, this is after the Siege of Vienna, which was, I learned so much European geography just through this. I uh, yeah, like the Danube River. Is that how you pronounce it? Holy crap! Now that I think about it, I'm not sure how to. I'm not 100% sure that's how you pronounce it. The Danube. Hang on, where's the dictionary? Whoa, my Chrome Omnibox, it no longer works the way it's supposed to. Danube, the Danube. Yeah, I got it right? Danube, the Danube, Danube. Oh, I did. Yeah, no, Danube. Sorry. So the Danube River, all the cities that kind of course that the Danube River courses through. The major. Let me see if I can remember the major ones being. Vienna, which is right here on the page, but also the one in Serbia, Belgrade, and it courses through the southern half of Germany. It courses over Munich, but not through Munich, right? Is that correct? Dude, I need to because I feel like when you're reading history, especially like imperial history, and you're like learning, who's doing what. It's good to have a sense of like scale. It's good to know what's happening. So let me just pull this up real quickly. Hang on. Oh God, I wish it would just keep the river highlighted. Anyway, I'll just go through. I do want to double check this because I kind of want to be better with this European geography thing that I'm not so great at. Yeah, it goes over Munich. So it goes through Ingolstadt. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it goes through this, right? And Munich is below. So I was right. Yeah. So this is how. By the way, just I have a terrible memory, so I tend to like try to force myself to refresh my memory to double check that things are correct. But yeah. So that's the Danube. Hang on, and now I'm going into. And so the Ottoman Empire was expanding quite a bit. Here, I'll show you the Ottoman Empire at its height, I guess. I was going to say at its peak, but sure, at its height. I'll go with the recommendation. It's Wikipedia. This seems like a prettier map. Britannica, yeah. Great encyclopedia for knowledge. Yeah, so I want to zoom in, but I don't know why it's not zooming in. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it almost got to Vienna on the Danube. Oh, dude, look at this beautiful map, man. This map is so great. It shows the actual river and everything. So this book's, when I was reading yesterday, we went from Gallipoli all the way to Belgrade, and then now we tried to siege Vienna. Oh, we outside this moment with Rhodes, but then we tried to siege Vienna, and now we're back. And so, coming back to my iPad, that's just some factual background. Let's get into the reading. I see. So the argument is maybe that's not really the height. Right, because now we're using the infighting of Europe. So France and the Ottoman Empire sort of like became buddy buddies. Pitting Suleiman against Spain and its allies. Interesting, right? Because no, this is not the same Ferdinand of France, right? I don't think it is. But anyway, this is the same time period of Columbus. So Spain was the dominant naval force, I think. Oh, and the Barbarossa was allied with the Ottomans. Baghdad, Lower Mesopotamia. Naval forces appeared in the Indian Ocean. Ooh, actually, I do want to check one thing. Can I? So it goes in the Persian Gulf over here, and that connects to the Indian Ocean. So, oh no, but the canal was built, yeah, more recently. I wonder how did they just circumnavigate Africa, or did they like go through this? I don't remember if that. I don't remember from world history when this area was able to be crossed. Was it through the building of the Suez Canal at the beginning of the 1900s? If you know, just let me know. I'm gonna move on. Hang on, man. My keyboard shortcuts all got messed up, so this is all very slow compared to the way I used to do it. A little clumsy. I need to fix this up. Keeping going. Humiliated the Habsburgs of the Holy Roman Empire between 1542 and 1544. So this is a little after the 40 years, but sure. Institutional structural foundations and their okay. Centralizing power. Yet as potent as the Ottomans were, their future weaknesses grew out of their very effectiveness. I think one thing that I can sort of predict right now is that, like, you know, the Ottomans, according to the author, the Ottomans were heavily, they had this sort of massive military machine in the Janissaries. Okay, and the Janissaries always wanted war, or they were restless. Okay, and I feel like that would be a natural weakness. Like, you have to keep feeding the imperial engine, and once you stop feeding it, then you get a very restless military, and the military, they're highly skilled in one area. And it might not be very easy to train them to be skilled in other areas to integrate into society, to go from a imperially structured society to a sort of peacefully structured society. That would be hard to do. So that is one thing that I'm kind of curious about. And I think it should come out. Yes, immediately. Revolved around conquest and territorial acquisition. Yeah, very, very apt quotation here. War made the state, and the state made war. By the way, this is a example of it's not exactly what I'm looking. Actually, I don't know how to pronounce the word that I'm looking for, but I'll just pull it up for you for the language nerds. Okay, so I don't think it's called zygote. Is it just called zygote? Hang on. No. So that's biology. Zugma. So zugma, zygote. It's funny. Mixing up my rhetoric and my biology. Okay, so a figure of a speech in which a word applies to two others in different senses. Now, the thing is, this is not a zugma because it's not the same word. So basically, it's just wordplay. Oh, what's solipsis? Let's find what solipsis is. A single phrase or word joins different parts of a sentence. Sure. He works his work, I work mine. All right, solipsis. This is solipsis. Right, this is when you just elide that word. Sure. When the people saw thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain smoke, they trembled with fear. Logically, they saw... Oh, wait. Sure. That's kind of a... We're a little pedantic at the point. I'm trying to... Dots sometimes counsel take and sometimes T. Right. This is Zugma, which is what we're talking about. But this has to require... This usually requires parallel structure, right? Because, yeah, so what I'm talking about is not actually Zugma, but I wonder if there's another word other than pun. This is all too technical. Do I know this word? Hey, that's the one I'm looking for. I actually didn't know this word. Nothing. Your argument is sound. Nothing. Oh, that's such a great. Yo, what a good discovery. Antanaclasis. Necklaces. Necklaces. Okay, necklaces. Whoa, that is a mouthful. Okay, antanaclasis. Antanaclasis. There's two pronunciations of this. I'm gonna go with the first one, I guess. Antanaclasis. Okay, because I guess that's the classical pronunciation. Antanaclasis. All right. So, but this is a very common type of pun. It's one of the exactly witticisms. We have so many examples of this. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a... Oh my God, I forgot about this garden pattern. This is a whole separate one. But yes. This is such a great Wikipedia article. Just for the examples, okay? Your argument is sound, nothing but sound. Although we're apart, you're still a part of me. Sure. Time isn't wasted and when you're getting wasted. Okay, we're going towards very contemporary examples here. But yes, when you use the same word twice, war made the state, as in war created the state, and the state made war, as in the state waged war, but we're using the same word. It's a pun, and we use it twice right away, and it creates that's what makes it witty. That's what makes it kind of creative. Okay, so I'm actually really glad I could find that. Antanaclasis. In fact, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna make a note on this so that I don't. Antanaclasis. And you know what? I'm gonna actually put I'm gonna get my what do you call it? My notebook app that I use. And just have it out so I can just like. Ooh, my computer's slowing down. Ooh. Why is it so slow right now? Why is my internet so slow? Or why is my computer so slow right now? Can't really tell. Anyway, I think this. I feel like the streaming should be okay. Let me see if I can do anything to fix my computer situation. Okay, I'm just gonna have to work with what I got. All right. So, anyway, anti-necklaces. Really happy that I found that. So for you language nerds, okay. I challenge you guys. Hey, come up with your own. Cause go look through that list. Come up with your own. Cause honestly, learning to use that kind of pun is, I think, one of the easiest ways to make yourself funnier and wittier. The pun is the lowest form of wit. Is that the saying? Let me try to. Pun is the lowest form of wit, right? The lowest form of humor. Okay. The lowest form of humor, maybe. But so we kind of crap on the pun, but honestly, guys, some of you guys are not very funny. Actually, I'm not that funny either, so I sympathize. But you guys can get funnier by using puns. Here we go. If anything, the connection was more direct. This is sort of repeating some stuff from previous part of the chapter. And I can kind of imagine what we're talking about. An Ottoman army on the move did not loot its own subjects, generally relying on complex logistical arrangements. So, right. Oh, sure. Right, that's the problem. When you keep getting larger and larger and larger and larger, and every successive increase in size increases your size, it's just exponential growth over time. And no state can maintain that forever, right? The growing stage and the maintaining stage are totally different, require totally different personalities of a state. When I say personalities, I mean that metaphorically. Like, you just need to have a different way of life, a different philosophy, a different modus operandi, for your whole nation, for your state. Very wealthy. Wages on time. Executed the Janissaries, but also paid them out. Oh, my shoulder. Sorry. Right, they sacked Rome because they had no money. The resources were Okay, we're arguing about how efficient the Ottomans were. Okay, this seems kind of interesting. Let me slow down. While entrepreneurs did play a key role, there was no privatized version of it. There was no Ottoman equivalent to Gotz or George, which these are two characters that are mentioned earlier in the book. So, this is more of a interesting. I feel like there's a thesis sort of bubbling under the surface, which is the highly efficient top-down system of the Ottomans is literally the opposite of what Western Europe was sort of messing with, kind of effing with, and that becomes. So the Ottoman is actually the foil for the Ottoman Empire. The efficiency and the wealth and the well-run nature of the Ottoman Empire is actually the foil for Europe, which becomes the birthplace of capitalism, democracy, and all of the things that we now are thinking at are better, are better in the long term, right? It might not be better in the short term just because it's less efficient than to have everything just centrally planned, but it's more, I don't know, dynamic, and it can roll with the punches better. It's born from conflict, democracy, and capitalism, something like that. I feel like that's the sort of underlying argument here, but Wyman doesn't actually out and out state it, at least not at this point, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, and yeah, of course, people envy well-run machines. In the long run, however, it gave them an increasingly sophisticated set of financial. So this is maybe not the democracy argument, but this is the capitalism argument. By virtue of their sheer wealth and power, they didn't have to have sort of a permanent interest-bearing state debt of the kind that revolutionized state finance. So I think this leans into a certain type of argument I've heard about Europe, which is that Europe's weakness of being the sort of like a scraggly, dispersed, fragmented, ongoing, like bickering, feudal, totally ununited mass of very different people, right? That's a huge weakness for Europe. Okay, they never really fully consolidated into like a European empire or anything like that was like efficiently run top down. But that was actually the source of Europe's greatest strength. That's why when China and the Ottoman Empire were huge, Europe was still the one that won out. That's the arc of history, according to some people. Because through the conflict, through the chaos, things like a financial system based on, like double booking accounting, or whatever you call that, a double entry bookkeeping. Okay, things like that were developed because there's so much debt and uncertainty, and you have to make these financial. You want to finance projects, but they're done in this much more complicated way where people have to like get money from each other. Even the kings and the emperors are indebted to certain private financiers. So it's a very different kind of economy than when the state is just financing conquest, earning money, and then redistributing that money. It's a very different kind of economy, and it's a very interesting. And you know what? If you're really into capitalism, and economics and macroeconomics especially, I think this is actually a really great book to read, because this is the first time we actually have a foil, a contrast to all the previous chapters. So it's an interesting chapter for that reason. Oh, and I just realized, I mean, I might as well just say it out and out. The I'm talking about two strains of thought right now. The sort of scrappy, sort of decentralized, to use that word, sort of bottoms up approach to the economy versus the sort of top down approach to the economy. This is typically considered the capitalism versus communism divide. Okay, and that's just stuff that you'll hear in textbooks, but actually people are arguing about this right now, at least from judging from my Twitter. People do get upset about these kinds of things, and they talk about right now US versus China. So if you want to have some sort of present day analog to sort of compare this to, a huge, well-run, state-driven economy is supposed to be what China is, okay, according to some people's arguments, versus the sort of chaotic, sometimes very inefficient, little unpredictable nature of like the U.S. economy. Which one is better? That's kind of like a debate that I think I'm seeing playing out here and there. So that's a present day analog for you guys to think about. Barrel scraping. It's an interesting argument. I'm actually really curious what other people think about this particular, other academics think about this argument. I'm just thinking about venture capital, weapon technology investment, and Europe. And anyway, it's just like floating around in my brain right now, but I don't have anything cogent to say. Here we go. Yeah, of course. If you keep, like at some point, if you keep farming the same land, and you go hard, you just go harder and harder into that land, you're going to make it barren, right? And it's the same thing with. I mean, you can't just keep waging war until the end of the earth, because after you've conquered the entire earth, what else is left? You're gonna have a massive military infrastructure, and they're gonna be wanting to be used. So you're gonna fracture. You're gonna splinter off and fight each other. There's a sort of natural breaking point, and you can kind of extend it with your efficiency and machinery, right? But that you can't just keep fighting. It's a failed project from the get-go in a way, it's kind of interesting to think about. After Suleiman, they never went to war. Right. And yes, once you already have this amazing empire, you don't really need an amazing sultan anymore. Huh. Yeah. Cool. That was that was the Ottomans. You read the last half of the chapter or so, or last third or so of the chapter with me, where Patrick Wyman was sort of organizing his sort of argument. Before that, it was more just details of what was happening. But I think that was an interesting argument. Now I don't have the motivation to go and read Charles V right now, so let me see if I want to do anything else. And if I don't, then I think I'll just close the stream. Close up the stream. It's 4:40 right now. I have like an hour before I have to go. Kind of want to do some work personally. I wonder if I can. You know what? I think I can motivate myself if I find something interesting to read here. Let's see what I can find. Can I find anything about that topic that I just hit in this? Okay, this is hard to read, so oops. Let's go to the what do you call it? The table of contents. I want to know something about how to organize our economy. Now, does the Federalist Papers number? I actually never read much of the. Actually, I've read some of the Federalist Papers, but not a lot. Let me see. Let me see where this comes. Okay. Strong government. He argues for strong government. Okay, so maybe this isn't quite. Oh, this actually is kind of on. It's actually on. It's on topic. It's relevant. Let me. Hang on. How about this? Remarks considering what? The savages. Wow. Yeah. I assume it's not going to be exactly. Yes, exactly. Critical of the savages, even though the word itself is much more negative sounding. Let me see what else I can find from the contents, because the Federalist paper actually Federalist number 1 might actually be the best one from this essay. I'm kind of curious. I'm actually curious enough to read it right now, but I just want to see what else there might be. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I want to read it. Before I do this, though, I do want to also orient myself around the context, because this is not. It's a little much for me. Like this is not enough context for me to feel like I would fully understand what's happening. So I wanna talk a little bit about what's out there. Okay, in terms of information. So here you go. The Federalist Papers. That's probably just the actual documents themselves. Let's go into Wikipedia real quick. Videos. United for social change. Should I listen to that? Let's try that. I'm gonna try it. Hang on. Okay, that's at 3.3 speed. That's why I have a thing for lowering. Let's make it 1.8, and let's go. The Articles of Confederation, creative. The Revolutionary War. Okay, let's go. Academy for Social Change presents the Federalist Papers. In 1783, the Revolutionary War ended. After 7 long, hard years, America had won their independence from Great Britain and could begin constructing a new nation.
This, however, proved to be no easy feat. The country's first constitution, the Articles of Confederation, created a federal government that had little authority over the individual states and no ability to levy taxes or regulate commerce.
Right. We all know that. Or, if you know U.S. history, you should know this.
Instead of simply editing the articles, however, the delegates to the convention wrote an entirely new constitution that outlined a strong central government and established a system of checks and balances. Before this document would become the new constitution of the country, 9 out of the 13 states had to ratify or approve it. The Federalist Papers are a collection of essays that attempted to convince the people of New York to support the proposed constitution. The Federalist Papers are a series of 85 essays written by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison that aim to convince the people of New York to support the new constitution. They were published under the pseudonym Publius in various New York newspapers from 1787 to 1788.
Publius?
Before the new constitution could be instituted, 9 out of the 13 states had ratified it.
Cato and Brutus, no?
Anti-Federalists who opposed ratification and worried that giving the federal government more power would make it susceptible to tyranny, and Federalists who supported ratification. New York was a hub of anti-Federalist sentiment. Many anti-Federalists published articles in New York newspapers arguing that the proposed constitution gave Congress too much power and threatened American.
Hang on.
More power.
The Federalist Papers are the... So, New York was anti-Federalist. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. Because, just to make it explicitly clear, the Federalists are on the side of more centralization. The Ottomans are more centralized than Europe. Why did the early Americans, okay, why were they so against that kind of centralization? They were against tyranny because for them, they came to America to sort of just be free, right? To practice their religion, to farm their own land, to make it by the skin of their own teeth, and to not get taxed and to have to quarter British military men, right? And stuff like that. This is just me ripping off of my very limited, probably incorrect American history knowledge. But I'm just riffing from what I remember, right? Well, crap, man. The Federalist Papers are on the side of more centralization, and I think this becomes it's just such an important question. Like, how centralized should we really be when we want to organize a society and kind of and set it up for success, or whatever that may mean, right? So let's go.
Into two main camps. Anti-Federalists who opposed ratification and worried that giving the federal government more power would make it susceptible to tyranny, and Federalists who supported ratification. New York was a hub of anti-Federalist sentiment. Many anti-Federalists published articles in New York newspapers arguing that the proposed constitution gave Congress too much power and would threaten American citizens' hard-earned freedoms. In the midst of this, New York lawyer and Federalist Alexander Hamilton decided to write a series of anonymous essays defending the Constitution. He recruited fellow convention delegates John Jay and James Madison to help. Plagued by rheumatism, John Jay wrote only 5 essays, while Madison penned 29 and Hamilton authored 51. The overarching argument of the Federalist Papers is that the Articles of Confederation were weak and ineffective, and that the proposed constitution would remedy these problems by creating a stronger federal government without threatening the rights and freedoms of American citizens. The first group of essays explains that under the system set by the Articles, the federal government was too decentralized for America to be
And it continues to be, this debate is so live even in America now. States' rights. Just let the people decide locally. Don't try to enforce all these ideas top down. It's such a live debate, and this is such an important debate in America.
Strong international presence or effectively addressed internal rebellions. Subsequent sections defend the proposed constitution, including a group of essays devoted to the importance of the federal government's power to levy taxes. Another large portion of these essays provides a comprehensive overview of the new structure of government proposed by the Constitution, including the system of checks and balances. Some of the essays are more famous than others. One of the most influential was Federalist 10, written by Madison, which argues against the idea that republican governments, or governments in which political authority comes from the people, can only be successful in small countries. Madison argues that, in fact, larger countries are more conducive to successful republican governments because they're more heterogeneous and better able to balance the competing interests of different factions.
Interesting.
Essay Federalist 51 details the importance of checks and balances, arguing that this system protects against tyranny, similar to what Americans suffered at the hands of the British. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place oblige it to control itself. Madison wrote explaining that since both individuals and government are fallible and prone to mistakes, a government must have checks on its power. At the time of the publication, the Federalist Papers were enormously influential. Few people outside of New York read them, and they were not successful in convincing a majority of New Yorkers to support the Constitution. The state sent more anti-Federalists than Federalists to the State Ratification Convention. However, New York did end up voting to support the new document. In July 1788, a small majority of delegates voted for ratification on the condition that a list of amendments detailing additional rights were added to the Constitution. This list became the Bill of Rights and was drafted by Madison in 1789. Today, the Federalist Papers are one of the most important resources we have for interpreting and understanding the original meaning of the Constitution. The essays provide a comprehensive explanation of the principles and structure of government laid out in the Constitution and have been cited.
All right, that's good enough for me right now. I'm going to move on to seeing some of these. Okay, so this is all of them. The number 1 is a general introduction, I guess. Okay. Let's see what we have over here. So they apparently used the pen name Publius, but my book says Cato and Brutus, but maybe they used it together. What does Publius mean? Does that refer to a specific person? Publius? Okay, is that Scipio? Oh, it's just the whole. That's a lot of Publius's. Okay, well, you know what? Forget it. It's not important. Saying kind of the same thing as the video. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part. Here we go. They explicitly set the debate, the terms of the debate. Okay, the scope of the debate. Oh, at this point I probably should update my little text here. What I'm now reading is no longer The Verge. I'm reading Federalist Paper #1 by Alexander Hamilton. All right, forgot to do that. All right, so I'm just looking at this right now. Where are we? Whether men are really capable of establishing good government from reflection and choice, or are they forever destined to depend on accident and force? Preventing rule by majority faction, a large commercial republic. Okay, this is a cool little overview though.